This is Antarctica's most unexpectedly comedic penguin. Because of birds like him, this frozen, silent continent feels alive with personality and charm. His name is Steve, a young Adélie penguin, newly grown, setting out for the most important event of his life, the annual breeding season. He is late, and he is completely lost. Separated from his own kind, Steve accidentally wanders into the territory of emperor penguins. It seems like a good chance to ask for directions, but before he can even introduce himself, a towering emperor shuts him down without ceremony. Maybe the big guys are not in the mood to help. Steve tries a smaller penguin instead. Unfortunately, this one wakes up grumpy and makes that very clear. Steve can hardly believe he just got shoved around by a chick. Still, he refuses to give up. After an awkward search through a crowd that clearly does not notice him, Steve finally retreats from the aloof emperors and spots his own colony in the distance. At last, he has arrived. Adélie penguins spend winter far out at sea. When spring returns, they come back to the exact place where they were born. Here, they will find a mate and raise the next generation. For first-timers like Steve, this crowded breeding ground is overwhelming. He arrived late. Every good nesting site is already taken. His first task is simple in theory, but difficult in practice. Find a suitable place and build a home. The older, experienced males have defended their prime spots for years. They guard them fiercely. Newcomers are not welcome. Full of youthful confidence, Steve tries to challenge one. The contest lasts only seconds. He quickly learns that enthusiasm is not the same as experience. Time is short. Soon, hundreds of thousands of females will arrive. If he does not have a nest ready, he will have no chance. For Adelies, stones are everything. Small pebbles lift the nest above melting snow, protecting precious eggs from icy water. Because he arrived last, Steve must work twice as hard. Trip after trip, he carries stones in his beak. Eventually, a neat little nest begins to take shape, but his neighbor has other plans. Whenever Steve leaves to collect more stones, the neighbor quietly steals from his pile. The harder Steve works, the richer the neighbor becomes. At first, Steve blames himself. Why is the nest not growing? Am I not trying hard enough? Then he catches the thief in the act. Now he faces a dilemma. If he leaves to gather stones, they disappear. If he stays to guard them, the nest remains unfinished. Worse yet, there is more than one thief nearby. Sometimes in life, you learn that effort alone is not enough. You must also learn awareness. At last, the females arrive. The males begin to sing. For Adelies, a strong, steady call is irresistible. It signals health, confidence, commitment. Steve lifts his voice with everything he has. Just as he runs out of breath, a female approaches. She inspects his nest carefully. Then she walks away. His song softens. It almost sounds sad. And somehow, that sincerity works. Another female approaches. Her name is Adelie. She examines the modest nest, but does not turn away. Instead, she accepts him. Their courtship is simple but profound. In that moment, they memorize each other's voices. In a colony of thousands, that sound will guide them back to one another for years to come. Marriage, however, is only the beginning. Their nest still needs work. Steve searches every corner for stones. Thinking of the family he hopes to build, he finds new determination. Slowly, patiently, their home becomes sturdy and secure. As the season advances, the sea ice begins to crack. For the first time in weeks, the males can finally return to the ocean to feed. Steve chooses a quiet stretch of shore, hoping to wash away weeks of dust and exhaustion. But danger moves silently beneath the water. Leopard seals patrol these waters. They are powerful hunters and one of the Adelie's greatest threats. While Steve relaxes, the colony suddenly scrambles onto the ice. He barely realizes what is happening. By chance, he avoids the predator. Back at the nesting ground, Adelie lays 2 precious eggs. From now on, they will take turns keeping the eggs warm against temperatures that can plunge far below zero. She waits for Steve to return, eager to share the news. Summer winds intensify. Katabatic gusts roar down from the Antarctic interior, sometimes exceeding 100 miles per hour. A massive blizzard sweeps across the colony. Penguins lower their bodies over their eggs, shielding them from the cold. In the storm, Steve loses his way. Alone on the open ice, he has nowhere to hide. For 3 days, the blizzard rages. When it finally clears, Adelie and the eggs have survived. She scans the horizon, unsure if she will ever see her mate again. Then, against the odds, Steve appears. Driven by instinct and devotion, he has found his way home. 2 weeks later, both chicks hatch. They are smaller than many others in the colony, slightly behind, but alive. Now the real work begins. For 1 month, Steve and Adelie must feed them constantly, helping them grow to nearly 4 times their original weight before winter seals off the ocean again. Steve travels nearly 100 miles round trip for food. Again and again, as the chicks grow, parents can finally hunt together. The young gather in groups, watched over by a few adults. Huddling together protects them from predatory seabirds that target the weakest. When one bird swoops towards Steve's chicks, he returns just in time to drive it away. Every few days, he reunites with his family. Other chicks chase him, begging for food. So he runs, knowing only his own will follow his voice. It is chaotic, exhausting, and strangely joyful. One day, on his way to the sea, Steve wanders through a group of elephant seals. Massive bodies, loud calls, the air thick with tension. A dominant male notices him. Instinct tells Steve not to hesitate. He escapes just in time. Meanwhile, the chicks shed their soft gray down. The awkward stage of childhood fades. Waterproof feathers replace fluff. They are becoming true seabirds. Snow falls again. Winter approaches. Soon, thick sea ice will block access to open water, cutting off their food supply. The entire colony begins moving toward the shore. The chicks' final lesson is the most important one: how to swim. They have lived only on bare rock. The ocean is unfamiliar and vast. Steve leads by example, diving into rough, churning water. The waves are strong. The learning is not easy. Time is running out. They must reach open water before the coast freezes solid. But beneath the surface, leopard seals wait. A single seal can kill dozens of penguins in a day. Panic spreads through the flock. If a penguin falls behind or enters the water at the wrong moment, it may not resurface. Steve and Adelie guide their 2 chicks across shifting ice. A seal locks onto them. The older chick dodges just in time. The seal lunges again, this time toward the smaller one. Exhausted, the chick is seized. The parents can do nothing. Against a seal, they have no power. But the seal is not hunting out of hunger. It loosens its grip. The chick instinctively goes still, playing dead. The predator loses interest. Miraculously, the young penguin survives and scrambles back to its sibling. At last, the family reaches open water. For now, they are safe. Together, Steve and Adelie will guide their young south into the vast southern ocean, teaching them to hunt, to navigate, to endure. One day, when the chicks can survive on their own, they will separate. In Antarctica, nothing is guaranteed. Not warmth, not safety, not even tomorrow. But perseverance, partnership, and preparation can turn even the harshest world into a place where life continues. And that may be the greatest lesson these small, determined birds have to offer. As the ice closes behind them, the ocean becomes their only road forward. No applause, no witnesses, just instinct and the will to endure. In the wild, no one promises survival. Every step must be earned. Here, there are no villains, no heroes, only life adapting or disappearing. And somewhere beyond the frozen horizon, the next chapter is already waiting. This is Nature Wildlife Stories, where the wild is not louder, just deeper. If this journey stayed with you, stay with us. There is always another hidden world to enter.